على من لا نبي بعده ولا أمة بعد أمته ولا كتاب بعد كتابه ولا شريعة بعد شريعته. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ومن يعمل من الصالحات من ذكر أو أنثى وهو مؤمن فلنحيينه حياة طيبة ولنجزينهم أجرهم بأحسن ما كانوا يعملون. صدق الله العظيم. My dear respected elders and brothers, in the ayat which I have recited, which appears in Surah Nisa in the 5th Supara of the Holy Quran, Allah Ta'ala has defined the principle for the progress and success of human beings. And Allah Ta'ala says, وَمَن يَعْمَلْ مِنَ الصَّالِحَاتِ, whoever does righteous deeds, be it male or female, and وَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ, and they are believers, فَلَنُحْيِيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً, we will grant them a blissful life and a pure life in this world, and in the year after they will be rewarded for their good deeds. Now this life which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants us, in which we are supposed to accumulate the ingredients for the recipe of success, as mentioned in the ayat, is a great amanat and trust upon us. A very, very great trust upon us. And in this life, there are various stages and phases from the spiritual point of view. And in accordance with those stages and phases, as a person makes spiritual progress. The first stage in a person's life is that in which his concern is limited to the fulfillment of his basic needs: food, clothing, drink, and shelter. Allah Ta'ala in Surah Taha makes mention that in Jannah, إِنَّكَ لَا تَجُوعَ فِيهَا وَلَا تَعْرَى وَأَنَّكَ لَا تَزْمَعُ فِيهَا وَلَا تَضْحَى. You will not be overtaken by hunger, neither will you be anywhere naked, وَلَا تَزْمَعُ, neither will you be overtaken by thirst, and neither will you not have shelter. These now are the vital needs of a person. Therefore we find in a small child in his infancy, it usually cries and screams when it needs these vital needs to be fulfilled. And when they are fulfilled, you usually find that it stops crying and stops screaming. Now this stage in a person's life, we can term it as the animal instinct and the animal existence of a human being. For the apparent existence of an animal does not go beyond the fulfilling of its basic needs. And if a human being remains stagnant upon this position, just the mere fulfillment of his last passion and his basic needs, then he does not go beyond the objective of an animal. He does not go beyond the objective of an animal. Now the second stage of a person's spiritual development is that which is termed as the aqli zindagi, where Allah Ta'ala grants him intellect and reason. That which Allah has granted the choices of His creation, ashraful makhluqat, human beings, to distinguish himself from the lowly beast, to distinguish himself from the animals. That is now this intellect. And this intellect is supposed to govern his emotions and his feelings away from animal instinct and bring it into the right direction. Now when this stage comes and appears, this intellectual phase and stage in a person's life, you will find some difference from the first stage. The first difference you will find is that in the first stage, the nature, temperament, and the disposition of that person or that animal is just confined to the fulfillment of its very, very basic needs. Therefore, you will find in an animal, there has been no change in its manner, method, and diet. It has remained unchanged from the very inception of time. But with intellect, you will not only merely seek fulfillment of that, but you will also seek betterment, you will seek enhancement, you will seek taste and style in those basic needs. When he wants shelter, he will only just put a plank over himself. He will try and create a place where he will find comfort, ease, and privacy. When he wants to eat something, he will not only dump something into his throat, but he will look at something which is tasty and is attractive to look at. When he wants to cover himself, he will not only drape himself up with a sack, but he will try and wear something which fulfills the need to cover himself, but will also be good looking. And with moderation, there is nothing wrong with that. Inna Allah Jameel yuhibbul Jamal. Allah is beautiful, Allah loves beauty. There's the first difference there will be from the second stage compared to the first stage. The second difference there will be that due to intellect and reason and his aql, he will seek some sort of collective life. To care and interact for one another is amongst the inborn characteristics of a human being. Due to this intellect, a person will take responsibility for his dependents. Due to this intellect, a person will not do anything inappropriate in front of other human beings. For example, he will not answer the call of nature in front of all and sundry. That is an animal instinct. There will be a change if you have intellect. Then there will also be a change in that he will take cognizance of the views and opinions of people. What will people saying about me? This is all part of intellect, part of the second phase of spiritual development. In general, he will care and interact with humanity in general. Now this stage, while being a very great improvement from the first stage, it distinguishes you from the lowly beasts. And Allah Ta'ala in the Holy Quran also sometimes appeals to this intellect to lead a person to the right path. Ya ayyuhal insan. Allah doesn't address the believers. Allah addresses the human being, the one who has this intellect. Ma gharraka bi rabbikal kareem. What has deceived you from recognizing your very honorable and kind creator? Alladhi khalaqaka. The one who created you. Fasawwaka fa'adalak. And he proportioned you in the most beautiful manner. So Allah Ta'ala appeals to this intellect. But while this intellect is a ni'mat of Allah, it also has its limitations. Allah has given us various things to gain knowledge. So various faculties. The first of those faculties, and each and every one of those faculties has certain limitation and jurisdiction. The first of those faculties is our five senses. We gain knowledge of many things through the five senses. But a time comes when the jurisdiction of that five senses ends. It cannot act any further. Then Allah Ta'ala grants us intellect. Now that intellect is supposed to govern our five senses. Leaving it alone to our five senses, no one will want to get up from his bed in the early hours of the morning to go towards his job places or to go towards his job. But intellect will tell him, yes, you got to get up because you're going to feed your family and you're going to get remuneration for that, which is going to be the means of the sustenance of yourself and your family. So that is now the second phase, right? But that intellect also has limitation. In a secular system, this intellect represents the highest form of knowledge in a secular system. But for a person who believes in Allah, there is a higher form of knowledge. And that higher form of knowledge is known as divine guidance. It is known as wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, divine revelation. That is now the highest form of knowledge for a believer. That is now the highest form of. You see, each and every tool and instrument has its designated area of operation. And beyond the designated area of operation, it will not be able to work. A scale, a measuring scale, which is made for the sake of weighing gold, with that scale you will not be able to weigh iron or vice versa, because it will not work. It has a designated area of operation. The human intellect and reason has made wonders with regard to the discoveries of science. Many of the things that we find and we make our lives comfortable and more easier has been the product of our intellect. But it is also a truth that many a times an instrument which is good in one area is completely useless and in fact dangerous in another area. Pure and uninformed reason, uninformed by divine guidance, is a defective tool for determining the purpose of one's life. It is a defective tool for suggesting the moral values. It is a defective tool for deciding what is right and what is wrong. For these questions to be answered, you need knowledge beyond that which can be provided by your five senses, or pure reasonable analysis, your pure reason and your pure analysis. And you will find why. The reason is also because firstly, there is a vast difference in the reasoning of people. Therefore, the philosophers have always differed with regard to what is the purpose of a person's life in this world. What is the purpose? Some philosophers say it is survival, some say it is happiness, some say it is pleasure, some say it is self-fulfillment. They have never been able to reach consensus of what is the purpose of a person's life. And I will give you an example of a personal incident that happened to me. I was once talking to a group of non-Muslim students, high school students, and one of the questions that was posed and propped up was, why does Islam forbid intoxicants and the taking of beer and wine? I gave a wrong reason. The reason why, there are so many reasons. That from the psychological point of view, from the medical point of view, how much harm there is in alcohol. And I even quoted the one medical doctor that if alcohol and all the bottle stores of the world are closed, then half of the hospitals will become redundant. One person got up, one youngster, and said, I will rather die early than to stay without booze. Now that is his reasoning. That is now his. Can you now accept reason, which people have different reasoning abilities, to be the criteria for right and wrong, to suggest the morals and values of people, how they're supposed to live in this world? It's impossible. So therefore, pure and uninformed reason cannot be the tool and the instrument to the criteria for right and wrong. Then another very important thing is that pure and uninformed reason in these matters cannot be separated from our feelings. Many a times, pure and uninformed reasons become just a tool to justify our own desires, to justify what we want, our own feelings. Therefore, one very beautiful article was written very recently in the Impact. One Khalid Beg from Los Angeles writes, and he writes that the problem of the postmodern world today is that it has accepted the wrong tool to develop its moral compass. And he further writes, majority of the people today abhor homosexuality. They don't like pornography. But despite majority of them don't liking it, we find that it is getting legal sanction. It is accepted many places. And it apparently seems that good-minded people are helpless or apparently helpless in stopping or stemming the sexual perversions. Although majority of the people don't like it. In fact, one Muslim MP phoned me in the course of this week that although 90% of submissions made with regard to pornography to the Constitutional Assembly were against pornography, the first draft bill which has been put into, which is going to be debated in Parliament, makes mention of legalizing it. Although 90% of it has been against pornography, where there will be adult premises and there will be free reign for a person to sell pornographic material with some very minor adjustment and conditions. Why? Why is it that despite 90% of the people disliking it, yet it is legally sanctioned? The reason is you cannot argue against this on the basis of pure reason. You cannot argue against this on the basis of pure reason. There's also a human urge towards the members of your same gender, the way you have an urge towards women. You cannot argue against it on the basis of pure reason. Now, what human being, he further writes, a very beautiful point is, it is easier today to make a case against smoking in public places than to make a case against the worst form of immorality. This is the result when you accept aql and intellect as the accepted arbiter between right and wrong. So aql and reason has its limitation. Now you need a superior form of knowledge which can determine the morals and determine the purpose of life. Something which is based on certainty, not based on doubts and conjecture. Something which can inform your desires and not be a slave to your desire. That is what the Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam came with. They claim that they have access to a superior form of knowledge which came from Allah Azza wa Jal, the creator of the world. Those who accepted in them, they use the intellect and reason to verify their authenticity. After verifying their authenticity, whatever came down upon them, they accepted it as the most superior form of knowledge. Some will say that this is very obvious, except in implications. Let me give you the implication. We accept what is right and wrong, not because revelation and wahi and divine guidance proved it to us. No. We accept what is right and wrong because revelation told it to us, not proved it to us. It told it to us. Why is riba haram? You can say this because it's oppressive, because it is unjust. All those things, those arguments can also be broken down. The greatest argument that cannot be broken down is riba is haram because Allah, who possessed the most superior form of knowledge, told us that it is haram. Why is pork haram? Many people today, usually when you tell them pork, they try to justify and say, medical science says that there are so many harmful bacteria in pork flesh, in pork. And today we will find, I say beyond that. Even today, if scientists tell us there is no deadly bacteria in pork, and last week Sunday Independent had a whole half-page advert telling us or trying to tell the people that the pork is healthy because it is free from cholesterol and free from fat. Are we going to accept it? No. We will say no, pork is still haram because Allah Ta'ala told us so. Not He proved it to us that it is haram and it is harmful. He told us so. I would like to ask you one question, and you think about it. Based on pure reason, can you make one argument in favor of eating with the right hand and not with the left hand? Based on pure reason. Or based on pure reason, can you say that we make argument against eating with the left hand and not with the right hand? Or eating with you cannot eat with the left hand. And this is something that our parents and our mothers, even if they don't tell their children to read namaz, the moment a child has to eat with the left hand, he will be rebuked, and rightly so. But based on pure reason, can you make one argument against eating with the left hand? You cannot make it. If someone tells you because you would not use it in noble practice, you use it to wash away filth, and I will counter argue and say, on what basis and what pure reason do you use your left hand there, not your right hand? You got no argument against it. For us, we got an argument. Argument is because Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us. Period. Argument closed. Therefore, a believer is one. We read every day, the Imam read, سَمِعْنَا وَأَطَانَا غُفْرَانَكَ رَبَّنَا وَإِلَيْكَ الْمَصِيرُ. We don't understand the implication. What does it mean? Oh Allah, we have heard. وَأَطَعْنَا, and we will follow your commands. Not like today's Muslims. We have heard, we will question, we will investigate, we will ask 10 muftis before we get a ruling in favor of us, and then if we feel like it, we will follow. If we don't feel like it, we won't follow. Not like that. A Muslim is sami'na wa ata'na. Oh Allah, we have heard, and we will try our utmost to follow. Not like today's Muslims. Really, by and large, we question, we argue, we investigate from 10 muftis until we get something which is to our satisfaction. And then if we feel like it, we will follow. One of the great incidents in the defining event in Islam is the sacrifice of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam of his son, Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam. The Quran says when both of them were ready, فَلَمَّا أَسْلَمَا, when they surrendered to the commands of Allah. If it was based on pure reason, you would have found millions of questions against it. Why would I follow it? It doesn't make sense. But it was something beyond your reason. It was wahi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Coming back to the context of our original scope of discussion. A true Muslim will have the wisdom and he will have the courage to submit to the highest form of knowledge, which is not your intellect, as I have made mention, the wahi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that wahi of Allah, we can term as imani zindagi. What we will term it as? Imani zindagi. The imani phase of a person. That imani phase of a person informs your reason. Informs your reason, your intellectual phase. And the intellectual phase governs your animal instinct. Then only you will have the success, which Allah Ta'ala has made mention of in the ayat. Your imani phase, which is your divine wahi, which you get from wahi, that informs your reason. Your reason, which is your intellectual phase and stage of your life. That in turn governs your animal instinct. Then only you will get the success which Allah Ta'ala has made mention of in the Holy Quran. وَمَن يَعْمَلْ مِنَ الصَّالِحَاتِ, whoever does righteous deeds, be it male or female, and if he's a believer, Allah will grant him a blissful life in this world, and he will be rewarded for that in the year after. May Allah Ta'ala give you the tawfiq of understanding and making amal. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.